Blessed love royal family, let me ask you a question. Can anyone tell me the name of the university that Haile Selassie I attended in France? What about the college that the King of Kings went to in London? You don't know? What about his high school in Naples? No one can tell me. What about prep school? No school in Europe? Come on, you don't know? Well, if you're telling me that there is no evidence of Haile Selassie attending any institution in Europe, you are totally correct. But why would I bring that up, even as a discussion? This is because I'm going to highlight for you today the propaganda of yesteryear that would have led many of our parents and grandparents astray as it relates to Haile Selassie I. And obviously, that would have trickled down to us today. And this is why many of us have this misunderstanding of not just Haile Selassie I, but Ethiopia and Ethiopians in general. Now listen to this. I'm going to show you how heavy propaganda is. I'm not just speaking about some sort of gossip on the wayside. We're going to highlight what you refer to as reputable news organizations and companies within our sphere. For example, I'm going to highlight to you right now a documentary done by the Prudential Insurance Company. Many of you know of the Prudential Insurance Company. In fact, those of you who are old enough, you know of the journalist, Mr. Walter Cronkite. Well, listen to this. This is taken from The Lion and the Cross, 1963. Listen.
I'm Walter Cronkite. Last week, the 20th century presented the first of two episodes on Ethiopia and its ruler, Emperor Haile Selassie, who is the sacred king of kings of an African empire 3,000 years old, whose upper classes consider themselves a race apart, with the features and heritage of a chosen band of biblical white men burned black by the African sun and time. They are the
Now, according to him, the Ethiopians themselves consider that they are a band of biblical white men who have been turned black by the African sun and time. What do you mean what I'm talking about? I think you missed it a while ago. Listen good.
Of an African empire 3,000 years old.
Listen.
Whose upper classes consider themselves a race apart, with the features and heritage of a chosen band of biblical white men burned black by the African sun and time.
With features and heritage that of a band of biblical white men turned black by the African sun and time. You get it now? You looking at a picture of Ras Mokennen. He ain't look no biblical white man to me. In fact, he looked just as black as me, and I'm surely no biblical white man turned black by no sun nor time. You understand? But keep in mind, this is not pick up Jimmy on the sidewalk saying this. This is the esteemed Walter Cronkite. This is the Prudential Insurance Company. Many of you and your parents and grandparents would have invested their hard-earned pennies, buying life insurance and house insurance and all sorts of insurance from this insurance company. In fact, this insurance company is well known for sponsoring the halftime show for decades as it relates to the National Basketball Association in the United States of America. I'm talking about the Prudential Insurance Company. And according to the wise, intelligent people that operate this organization and who would have created that documentary, they are saying that these black, beautiful brothers that you are gazing on are white people that have been turned black by the African sun and time. We're not done, eh? I want you to hear this now. Before we get to Haile Selassie being educated in Europe, let's get to this one. And you see, family, let me remind you that this is one of our programs within the series of programs that we are doing as it relates to the fundraiser campaign for our mission in Ethiopia. And I'm sure many of you would understand that even what we are doing now speaking to you and sharing this knowledge is what we have been doing for decades. And we would have taken this skill and the knowledge and all that we would have acquired and literally created products and services. And this is why we are now international, not just in Ethiopia, Ghana, but all over Africa. And of course, anywhere on the planet where our people are, you understand. So let me just remind you before we continue, those of you who have not contacted us, to receive your copy of the proposal, which is very important. For those who may not know what I'm speaking of, just tiger with me for a second. Our mission to Ethiopia literally has a proposal. And of course, this is really surrounding the African Union CARICOM Summit and of course the official magazine launch for the upcoming edition of the magazine Kidemi. So I'm inviting everyone to email me, of course, Priest Isaac Institute at gmail.com. That's Priest Isaac Institute at gmail.com. And of course, request your copy of the proposal. And what you could do, you would literally take the time and go through the pages, beginning with the overview. Now, I would have taken the time to come on this program and read the overview for the family already. So we're not going to keep doing that. You can take your time and go through it properly so you understand the importance of the mission. And I just want to say before we continue, because I'm going to return to this before we leave this program here, what I want you to comprehend is that there are several avenues prepared for you to add to the mission. I think this is the most important thing. There's several avenues, and why we did that, so no one can escape as such then, because I am positive that the vast majority of people that listen to us are people that want to contribute, people that want to assist in one way or the other. Sometimes you don't even know what you want to do. You just want to help whatever is taking place. So this is why we are telling you what is taking place. This is why we are literally opening our heart space so you comprehend our mission. We have put it in writing so you can read it, and put it in audio so you can hear it, and giving you the stats and broken it down and budget and everything. Obviously, we are serious about what we are doing. So again, for those of you who want to be a part of the mission, that is possible. Remember, we have literal tours that have been put together. All of that is in the proposal, by the way, just in case you're saying, oh, you're talking too fast. Well, listen to me. You can get the proposal and you can read everything for yourself. It speaks about the Addis Ababa tour, and it also speaks of the national tour. We'll be visiting Lalibela. We'll be visiting Aksum. We'll be visiting Gondar. And again, by itself, we have the Addis Ababa tour, where, of course, we'll be seeing the National Palace, and of course the newly built Addis Ababa, not Addis Ababa, but the Battle of Adwa Memorial Museum, and so much more will be taking place on this tour. So all you got to do is contact us and get more information, have a conversation with us, obviously. And now is the time, because now is the time. Remember, the African Union CARICOM Summit is scheduled for the 7th and the 8th of September. So again, now is the time that you have to contact us. Also, outside of that, you can make a choice of the sponsorship. You remember we have several layers of sponsorship. You have the full sponsorship, the platinum sponsorship, the diamond and the gold sponsorship, and the silver sponsorship. And of course, this is starting from only $10,000 all the way up to the full budget, which is $118,000. That's the full budget. And again, everything is broken down in the proposal. No guessing game. You wonder what we're talking about. Is all here in full detail. And then, of course, there are those who would advertise with the upcoming magazine, which is the Kidemi, and even the ambassador's pen. And remember, in a few short, maybe hours, you'll be seeing a new edition of the ambassador's pen as well. So these are the ways that you can contribute. And remember, even if you are not coming, even if you're not going to take an advertisement spot in the magazine, even if you do not want one of the sponsorship slots, you can simply donate. You can simply contribute to the work that you know the family is doing, because you know what we're doing. Remember, family, we actually were placed in 2 finalist spots, international film festivals, South Africa and in Italy, documentary. So you understand the levels and the different avenues we would have created to get the information out. So those who understand and comprehend the importance of this mission are those who will contribute. So whether it is $500 or $5,000 or $50, you can make a contribution. Of course, I would prefer that you buy a spot in the magazine. I prefer you buy a ticket and come to Ethiopia with us. I prefer that you take a sponsorship and get so many other things for your dollar. But if you believe, hey, brother, I don't need none of that. I just want to help what you're doing. I'm going to send a 400. I'm going to send a 800. I'm going to send a 50 because that's what I have. That's quite okay. We fully understand that, and you know what to do. Email us priestisaacInstitute@gmail.com. That's priestisaacInstitute@gmail.com. All the links are in the description below. Remember, even the links for the magazines are in the description below as well. Very good. All right. Now, listen to this.
The fact that Ethiopia is primarily populated by a people of Caucasian ancestry makes it unique among other African nations.
So you see, here we go again. This is what I'm trying to show you, family. Now you see, the reason why it's important for us to highlight this. Now anyone can see that Ethiopians ain't, occupied by no Caucasian, nothing. And the thing is, they're trying to highlight the royal family and the royal lineage as these Caucasians that have been burnt by the hot sun. What a tan, eh? What a suntan. Hawaii has nothing. The beaches of Hawaii and Waikiki ain't got nothing on that Ethiopian sun, the way they give you a suntan. They even tan your hair, curl up your hair, in these tight spirals. What a hot sun. Give me a listen. And when you observe again, the melanated brothers and sisters, for us to even follow information like what we just heard, and I'm speaking of now, this is another documentary, Ethiopia's African Ancient Kingdom, which came out in 1961. And this is from a travelogue, a movie. Here it is.
The fact that Ethiopia is primarily populated by a people of Caucasian ancestry makes it unique among other African nations.
Ethiopia is populated by a people of Caucasian ancestry. And again, that brings us back to what Mr. Walter Cronkite was saying from the Prudential Insurance.
Upper classes consider themselves a race apart. with the features and heritage of a chosen band of biblical white men burned black by the African sun and time.
So you have biblical white people getting fried by the sun and the hours. And then over here, you got praises, heaped on the Ethiopian people for being special white people. And that separates them from the rest of the Africans. You must keep in mind, when Menelik II defeated Crispy and the Europeans, the Italians, all over Europe, they were saying in their press that Menelik was a white man. I think that's where it really began, because they couldn't believe that you had people that were so fierce. You had Ras Mokenen that was so terrible on the battlefield. You had Empress Taitu that would rip you to shreds. They couldn't understand that they had these sort of people that could defeat their heavy artillery and their massive army. They got to be white people. No monkey people in the jungle could do us that. That's what they were trying to say. So as black as Menelik II is, they still portrayed him. Even black, they still portrayed him in their newspapers and said that he was white. And that's why sometimes you see people argue about these terms, black and white, and them being political terms and the value given to the terms, black and white. And some people will say, well, listen, man, brother, there's no black people and there's no white people. And I understand the argument, although I disagree. Or I definitely disagree. I know for sure I've seen black people. Many of you have seen them too. Some of you black. I don't mean black like me, I mean black. I know for sure I know black people. Maybe you don't know them, but I know them. And I've seen at least 2 white people in my life. Positive. It was an old lady and a young girl, and I'm sure you've heard me tell that story before. You understand? So we ain't lying, because the same thing keep coming out. An old lady, I met her. I didn't really meet her, but I saw her, passed her, did say good day. And this was in a supermarket in London, old lady. And then in a supermarket right here in Antigua, young little girl. And these 2 people were white people. When I say white, I'm talking white. Not cream, not pink, the color white. And the black people I know, which is more than 2 people, by the way, you understand? Some of them, I see them on TV, just as black as they're here. Them is black people. You understand? So, but outside of the argument over color and ethnicity and the terminologies that have been given to us to use and the real meaning of black and all of that, you know what I am talking about. Whether you believe black people are not really black people and all of that stuff, I'm not getting into that argument. My reasoning here is that you know what I'm talking about. The point is that they have been trying to manipulate us for a long time as it relates to the origin of the people of origin. And because this is something for us to be proud of, our King of Kings, our monarchy, our supreme leader. Oh no, we have to separate these people from those who will inspire them. What can we do, boss? Let's just say that they are white people. And that's what they did. Now, let me show you this, because, the stuff is serious, real serious. When you observe this now, you just heard for yourself that the Ethiopians are white people. This is a documentary highlighting the war with Mussolini and Ethiopia. You have to keep in mind now, these were the the newsreels and the stuff that many of our parents would go to the theater to see. Maybe black and white television didn't come in as yet, and and even when it came in, it was a case of, again, heavy propaganda. Let's listen to this.
In 1930, in the East African nation of Ethiopia, Haile Selassie was crowned Emperor, King of Kings, the Lion of Judah. According to legend, this proud emperor was a direct descendant of Solomon and Sheba.
Hear that?
Educated in Europe, he was determined to bring his 3,000-year-old primitive kingdom into the 20th century.
Educated in Europe, he was determined to bring his well, I can't even remember what he said, but that wasn't the point. The point was,
educated in Europe, he was determined to bring his 3,000-year-old primitive kingdom into the 20th century.
Now, when was Haile Selassie educated in Europe? You see, this is why we need to read, eh? This is why we need to read. This is why we highlight the autobiography, where are my books, of the King of Kings all the time, man. Educated in Europe. Okay, all right. Let's begin at preschool or nursery school or kindergarten or whatever. Where was the king educated? In fact, when was the first time the king went to Europe? So we don't have to waste too much time on the formative years. I mean, the story says when Ras Mokennen, remember Haile Selassie's mother passed when he was very young, a baby, a little baby. Ras Mokennen left him with his grandmother when he went, on the battlefield, when he went on diplomatic business. In fact, just going to Europe, Ras Mokennen was the one that went to Europe. Menelik II never went to Europe. Empress Taitu, Empress Zaditu never went to Europe. It's Ras Mokennen, the father of Haile Selassie, for those who may not know. Yeah? One of them biblical white men turned black by the sun. Yeah, he was the one that went to Europe as the diplomat, as the envoy, as the ambassador for Menelik II. Them times Haile Selassie was a young lad being taken care of by his grandmother. And then, of course, as a youth, growing up in the courts of Menelik II as well for some time. And we have a good understanding of the emperor's education, For Menelik II and Ras Mokennen were very, very serious about education in general. Now, I'm not going to make no excuse for the narrator a while ago. He said the king was educated in Europe. I'm not going to say, well, maybe he meant. No, maybe he meant nothing. These fellas' intention was to fool me and you. So we wouldn't understand our long-lost father. We wouldn't identify our long-lost father when we see him, straight up. So they pack us with all sorts of lies. White people burnt black. He was educated in Europe. Why say that? Because they're trying to take away the credibility from his African roots, his African circumstances that made him who he is. That's what it is, eh? Remember, plan B is to stain his name. That's plan B, You need to listen to these documentaries well. Many of them, they don't really, as such, pile on the propaganda and disrespect of Haile Selassie, They're telling you all he's doing good and Ethiopia is progressive. And in a short time, this and that has happened. He's a biblical white man, by the way, burnt black by the African sun. Oh, I didn't know. I thought he was one of us. Oh, no. He was educated in Europe. And you learn that crap in the rum shop as a little child when the elders are speaking after they came from off of their job and they're getting drunk to carry home half of the check to their wives. That's how you hear these things. Yeah, drunk as a skull. Ooh, Who Selassie in Ethiopia? Yeah, boy. A London, he get free education. You worry, we. What make you go to school in Africa? You go to school in London. So where did you hear that? Walter Cronkite, the educated, said that. Now, Haile Selassie, from a very young age, was versed in French. You know that, of course. And he was well versed in European history too. And again, Ras Mokenen made sure of that. Menelik II made sure of that, but you can't tell me that because he was versed in European knowledge, mean he was educated in Europe. The king knew the Quran inside out. He grew up in the most famous Islamic city in Africa, in Hara. The king knew Arabic. Huh? Was he educated in Saudi Arabia? No. All of this is just lies so that we can be led astray. I want you to hear this. More lies. I want you to, this is why we have a library. I hear somebody says the truth, Barry. No, you got to be careful with these words. You know, it's reverse psychology. The library, it's a library because we are burying all the lies. People telling me have a happy, strong end. No. It's a weekend. It's a weekend. It's a strong, but it's a weekend because the week is coming to an end. Listen to this.
There was no easy escape from the isolation and poverty of Haile Selassie's empire. There was no mineral wealth.
No. Imagine that. This is a BBC documentary now, 1970. Now he's saying there was no easy, escape from poverty in Haile Selassie's kingdom. All right. I guess that's his own opinion. And then the killer went on to say that there was no mineral wealth. Now, this may surprise you, but to me, that's the biggest lie I've ever heard in my life. Even all the stuff we just spoke about, the biblical white men and all of that, believe it. This is heavier than that. Listen good, listen.
The isolation and poverty of Haile Selassie's empire. There was no mineral wealth.
There was no mineral wealth. This killer should be fired right away just for saying that. What he talking about? Ethiopia he talking about, Ethiopia, where the river Nile begins, that alone. Ethiopia has a living volcano that we may see, if I'm correct, when we take our Ethiopian tour. Ethiopia, no mineral wealth. Just think about this, family. These crackers say the weirdest things. When talk about a lie. This is not a lie. No, these are not lies. When we were children, we would tell a lie to our parents. This is not a lie. You're going to look in my face and tell me Ethiopia. Just think about it. You have volcanoes in the land. How on earth you're not going to have any mineral wealth? That makes any sense? You have hot water springs, rivers, waterfalls, and you have no mineral wealth. These people, they are just so giddy to tell their lies. They don't even know what to do. Just because Idi Amin said, I don't want no Israeli and I don't want no Indians in my country, all of a sudden he has heads in his freezer to eat as icicles. He never did that before. But all of a sudden, he's eating guts, frying people's intestines overnight. How did he get so vicious overnight? Ethiopia has no mineral wealth. Man, it's the firing squad for that person there. The gas chamber he's supposed to get just for saying that. That is wickedness. Just to say that. Just think about that. Where in Africa, number one, has no mineral wealth? That's first of all. And then you're going to take the highest region. Let me repeat, maybe you're missing my point. You cannot have living volcanoes, not dormant, dead volcanoes, living volcanoes, and the country has no mineral wealth. It doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. Lake Tana, that's the source of the Blue Nile. Look, the brothers have built a whole dam, billions of dollars. Now they're supplying 60% of Ethiopia with its electricity and selling Ethiopia to Djibouti and other places. No mineral wealth. White people turn black by the African sun. And Haile Selassie was educated in Europe. And some of you wonder why we refuse to stop doing what we do. And this is why personally I'm very thankful for those who appreciate, love, and understand the vision of what takes place here at the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge. Let me just reach out again for those of you, especially the well-wishers, who would like to contribute specifically to the mission in Ethiopia. Of course, I will encourage you to contact us and get your copy of the literal mission, and that will give you a chance to go through for yourself, page by page, the details of the mission. Those who don't want to do no long reading, you don't have no time to hear nothing else, you just want to send us some money so you can assist the mission. You don't need no report because we know what we're doing. I appreciate that too. Enough respect to you. Of course, you don't know you can email us, get more information, and the same email, applies to the PayPal and the Cash App, which is Priest Isaac Institute at gmail.com. Priest Isaac Institute at gmail.com. But keep in mind, family, I would really love, to see you join us on that mission once it's possible. You understand? I would really love for as much as the family to be a part of the delegation that we are carrying to the African Union / CARICOM, and again, it would be a joy for those of you to come on board, even if you're not there, to be, prime sponsors of this mission, that your banners and your business would be, seen all over, wherever we go, wherever we speak, radio, television, lectures, which we will be doing all of that. That's why I want you to check out the proposal. And again, for those of you who will be advertising with us in the upcoming magazines, and remember, advertising with us is a continuous thing. It's not for this and it done. It is a continuous thing. You can call anytime and say, I would like to advertise in the magazine. Yeah, we don't have no seasons for that. Every month you get an ambassador spend, and the Kidemi is always around the corner. Royal family, give thanks for your presence with us. Looking forward to hearing from you. Of course, if you know your Bible and you do not know your history, the knowledge of your Bible will become a mystery. And of course, it takes some real eyes to realize the real lives that are amongst us. Praise Fari, let the earth hear his voice. Igas Emmanuel I, Selassie I, Jah, Rastafari. Blessed love, thanks. Oh. Attention, everyone. The Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge is inviting you to join us in September for the African Union CARICOM Summit in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Sign up for the 3-day package and be a part of the AU CARICOM Summit, plus take in all of the sights of Addis Ababa, the new flower. Or you can opt for our 9-day cultural national tour, and that will engulf sites like Lalibela, Aksum, the Simeon Mountains, and much more. Transportation, accommodation, and your meals all included. So contact us now and reserve your spot. Email us priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com or visit our website priestisaacinstitute.com. Ethiopia. See you there. Definitely say blessed love to each and every one. As we give thanks to the life giver and the keeper of life, Emperor Haile Selassie I is exalted. We welcome you to the Tiger's Nest. Honorable Priest Isaac here with you. Yes, royal family. As I said once again, another exciting and upful edition of the Tiger's Nest with you. As we give thanks continually for the 6 days labor and of course the 7-day Sabbath of rest. Royal family, blessed love once again. As I said, the Honorable Priest Isaac here with you. It is just my joy, to bring forth another edition of this Mystic Vibration program to you. Another moment of the Tiger's Nest, a program that comes to you every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Make sure you are in tune, and how you do that is to make sure you become a part of the subscription team. All you have to do is contact us, email us, priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com, and let us know, my brother, I would like to make sure I get the audio version of these programs that come out every evening. Make sure that you get the Tiger's Nest after it is recorded. You're going to get it in your inbox, of course, via the email. And of course, everything will be in full order. Now, what I want to do this evening, and this is all a part of our fundraising campaign. Everyone knows that we have been promoting our fundraising campaign as it relates to our mission to Ethiopia. And of course, this is a part of such a campaign. But the Tiger's Nest program tonight, well, as all the programs are, will be very serious. And it's something that I, said that I really have to address as it relates to the whole aspect of the education that is being put out to the world now, as it relates to Emperor Haile Selassie I. Now, it's no secret that the king has always been on the top of the list of those who they, throw the bucket of propaganda at. That's for sure. I mean, even during the time of the war, even the time of exile, propaganda against Haile Selassie was the main thing. We just did a program the other day highlighting, these fellas saying that Haile Selassie and the Ethiopians were white people that were burnt black by the African sun. Can you imagine that? So at the same time, when we consider that sort of information, when you consider that sort of propaganda, you could imagine the sort of things that they're even saying now. Remember, we were the ones that grew up amongst the old people that had nothing good to say about the King of Kings. In fact, any conversation about Haile Selassie was that he fed the lion's meat while the people in Ethiopia were starving. That was like the main thing. In fact, you knew nothing else about Haile Selassie, at least around these parts, except that he would have starved the people, starved the people and fed the lions all the meat. But of course, we would have educated ourselves and understand again that it was just propaganda in full effect. But now what is happening today? We realize that the internet, social media, information itself as it relates to Haile Selassie is being meted out on a daily level now. And I'm talking about through AI and mixed with a heap of lies and more lies. And I always like to highlight that when we started this campaign, I must say, there was no one that I can remember saying Haile Selassie. And I'm not talking on the internet. I'm speaking even before the internet, at least, existed in mainstream. So I can only speak of my bubble and around my community. Haile Selassie? No, you can't be saying that, especially to be expressing it on such a high level on the radio station through radio programs. And then how dare you talking about you're going to advertise a lecture and gather people in the city hall to be the town hall really to be teaching them about Haile Selassie of Ethiopia. That was a no. People don't do that. What's wrong with you? People don't do that, you know. And then now when the internet and YouTube became the big thing, you know, and we started to spit the knowledge there were very few people on the YouTube that would have been speaking about Haile Selassie the first. You know, we always have to highlight Rastafari sabbatical, Ras Adonis, the rabbi himself. You know, to be honest, it's the rabbi and one or two people that they don't even exist anymore that were speaking of Haile Selassie when I stepped into that arena. You know, and then after a while, as I said, all of these people just kind of disappeared. And then it was just Rastafari sabbatical. And listen to this, they took his channel down. So he kind of went into a little level of obscurity for a moment. That's just the truth. And that's one of the enemy's tactic. You know, they tried the same thing on me. Remember, they locked down my channel a couple times, but they took down Rastafari sabbatical, like took it down, like it can't get back up again. You understand? And caused the brother to you know, go and reform himself as such to come on another level. So that's what they do. So because they realize they can't beat us, they see fellas talking about Rastafari round table, you know, and we ain't fighting one another, we're helping one another to get the word out. So they decided, no, we got to try something else. Now all of a sudden, every time you blink, it's a new video about Haile Selassie I. Can you imagine that? You know? And when you go and investigate some of these channels, they were just established like 2 or 3 weeks ago. In fact, some of them, the only videos they have is the Haile Selassie video. And the video, 1 million views in a week. Full AI. Nothing that looks nearly like the emperor that we know and love. And then, of course, full of a lot of propaganda. All kind of videos of the emperor crying and bawling with his head on the desk. Come on, you ever see the king go through anything like that? And what it does, it stains the true, discipline that we know of Haile Selassie. The AI mixed with the propaganda has become extremely dangerous to the mind that is not, aware at all as it relates to the history. So a new generation of people who don't even like to read, a new generation of youth that all they do is check the social media. They are attracted to AI. It's as if they're watching Haile Selassie cartoon. So it entertains them, it attracts them, but the knowledge is way off. And then we're talking about Generation Z. That's what we call these children, Gen Z. Gen Z. Z, the last letter in the alphabet. So what comes after Z? What you're trying to tell me, this is the end of it for them? We have come to the end. Gen Z, Generation Z. So what I want to do this evening, Royal Family, I want to take another look as it relates to Haile Selassie, especially from a biblical point of view. And I'm going to tell you why as well. You see, many times we go way out, let me put it that way, and we start to test the dust on Mars, which we can do, and prove that Haile Selassie is the Almighty by utilizing, yes, the dust on Mars. You think we play with this? No, we don't. We've done programs where we go into the rings of Saturn. And at the end of the program, all hail Emperor Haile Selassie I. The coral reef, the atom, the Fibonacci series of numbers, which creates the golden spiral. The Islamic codes and the Masonic rituals. I'm serious, this ain't no time to play. Even the circulation of your blood in connection to the rays of the sun, and 8 minutes and 20 seconds. You take the time and give us enough time, we can prove to you that Haile Selassie is the Almighty. Utilizing everything that we just mentioned a while ago. And to those of you who may be new here, you may be saying, come on, you can't do that. But then again, those of you who are always here, we would have done that and then some. But what I would like to do this evening is to some degree, keep it simple. But this ain't simple. The thing is, the vast majority of our people, and don't fool yourself, the young people too. I know some of you try to, look, young people not into the Bible. You think so? How many of you live in Africa? How many of you listening to me are in Ghana right now? How many of you are in Nigeria? Don't be telling me about young people not into the Bible. You think you can go and play with these people and try to pretend as if, Jesus Christ and this and that. They get upset with you. How dare you? You understand? In South Africa too, they big into Jesus Christ. They would tell you them is Zulu and Shona and the whole stuff. They're celebrating Homawa. What's the other stuff? I can't remember what they call it. But they celebrate all the stuff. Askawidai, that's a celebration the Akan do. That's not exactly the right term, but yeah. But the point is, yet still, they're going to church on Sunday. And Jesus is up on the wall. The white one or the black one. They ain't got no black Jesus, brother. There's no black Jesus. It's just Jesus. And Jesus is up on the wall. Jesus is in the taxi cab. Jesus is on the bus, Rasta. Jesus is on the bicycle. And the young people are picking up Jesus too. I agree. You know, anywhere you go, the young people may not be into it like the older ones, like before. I can agree to that and testify to that. But believe me, it's still not good enough. We're still in a position where we are lost, not just to religion, but to Jesus. And of course, that whole Jesus thing is a corruption of the stories that you read of in the Bible, even the manipulated, fondled with King James version of the Bible too. But again, this program this evening, I don't want to take too much time to try to explain Bible and explain allegory and explain mythology and mythos and all of that. We've done so many programs there. I think by now most of us should be seasoned with that sort of comprehension so we don't have to wrestle with it. This is what I want to do this evening, family. And I know it was a somewhat of a lengthy introduction, but this is the Tiger's Nest. Let me remind you, this is not no quick fly-by-night program here. This is the Tiger's Nest, where we expect you to prepare yourself and sit in and get comfortable. In fact, for those who may not know, we will be sharing this Tiger's Nest video-wise on the YouTube as well. So there will be a visual aspect to this. Now, this is what I want to highlight. At least I want to take the program from this point of view. The book of Acts, chapter 2, from the 29th verse. And it says this: Men and brethren, let me freely speak unto you of the patriarch David, that he is both dead and buried, and his sepulchre is with us unto this day. Therefore, being a prophet, and knowing that God has sworn with an oath to him that of the fruit of his loins, according to the flesh, he would rise up Christ to sit upon his throne. So according to what we're reading here, David the patriarch, gone several hundred years now, maybe 1,000 plus. But this is the prophecy according to this, that God shall rise up through the fruit of his loins, his descendants, or descendant specifically, as they are highlighting a person. According to the flesh, Christ will sit upon his throne. Now, this is quite telling. You don't say. So according to the promise here in the book of Acts, the great King David, his great, and maybe a few more greats, grandson, I think it's about 14 greats, shall come and sit upon the throne of David. He shall rise up Christ. So it's more than 14 greats. Because the Christ that you read of in the scripture, he didn't sit on the throne of David, did he? No. But he is still the same one that is given the promise to be resurrected, to sit upon the throne. Now, of course, because spookism has taken over most of us, we consider that Jesus died and he was resurrected already. So that whole confusion and the story is totally gone because we have turned it into a story and not the glory of the symbolic understanding of the history that was played out then and is continually played out even as we speak, royal family. Now, in this sense, you better believe that resurrection is reincarnation. Let's get that straight. Even when you read the scripture, it highlights reincarnation very clearly, even as it relates to the Christ. And this is why it says, and he appeared unto his disciples in another form. It is symbolic of, resurrection. This is why when they were amongst him, they didn't know it was him until he started to do certain things, act certain ways. And they said, I think he was blessing the food. And they said, wait, only one man burn chalice like that, bless the food in that way. And again, it was written in story form, royal family. You got to keep this in mind. You cannot just be going through the scriptures as if you're reading history. Even history itself is not as well put together as many of us think. That's another thing. We think because it says history is the truth. Yeah. Now, biblical scriptures, they may come down as not being the truth because you may have adapted them on a very literal level. But symbolically, you're reading the truth on many, many levels. And I would say again, allegory and symbolism doesn't take away from the literal aspect of it. So a literal story, I'm going to repeat this again, I have to. A literal story can be expressed in symbolic form. But it doesn't mean that it's not real because it has been expressed in the symbolic form. And I like to highlight the tiger's nest. Not the radio program. I'm talking about the tiger's nest in Bhutan. The tiger's nest is a monastery that is perched on the side of a cliff, like a mountain going up in the sky, and on the side is a monastery. And although you can get up there today, walking the very breathtaking track, but at the same time you must contemplate, so how did they get up there in the first place in the olden days to build that monastery? Now there's a story. The story says that the monk that built the tiger's nest, his wife literally took him and put him on her back. And by the way, she was a tiger. His wife was a tiger. So his wife, the tiger, put him on her back and literally flew him to the area where they established the tiger's lair, which eventually became the tiger's nest. Now, that's a true story. You may say, come on, brother, how could that be a true story? Who's going to put the tiger on his back and he's going to go on the tiger's back and she's going to carry him to the... Come on, man, we don't believe that kind of stuff. So how did the tiger's nest get there? Well, I don't know, somebody built it, but I don't believe no tiger flew up there with no fella on her back. And what you're trying to tell me, the tiger was his wife. That's another thing. He's married to the tiger? Come on, man. And the tiger has wings? Come on, man. You can't fool nobody here. But again, family, that is how we as Africans write our story. You see, that's the problem. This is what slavery would have done to us. So when we read our own material, we even condemn it. We look at the ancient hieroglyph and say, oh, I'm not with that because this fella is green. And this fellow with the head of the ram and the one with the head of the falcon, I'm not into that kind of stuff at all. Yeah, but you're into the Bible. And the Bible speaks about 4 beasts that follow God everywhere he goes. And they have 4 faces and 4 heads with 4 faces. 4 heads and 4 faces on each head. This is God's brethren that flex with him. And the faces is the face of a cow and the face of an eagle and a lion and all sort of other stuff. A crocodile tail and bare feet. Yeah, them is Jah's brethren, 4 of them too, that move with him. And you don't have a problem with that. It's in the book of Ezekiel. But you have a problem with one man with 1 head of a falcon symbolically expressing something to you that you should know. So I'm showing to you again the way that we tell a story is not the way our conquerors tell stories, So when we express it, it doesn't mean, although it sounds very powerful and fanciful, it's because we have added a bit of spice to the story, but so that you could understand the deeper meaning. And we do have raw myth, as if it didn't come from no story, but the myth is lessons of life which will manifest. And again, we do have history that we would have taken and lionized. Let me repeat, we have history that we would have taken and lionized. Yeah, as they would say, on steroids then. And that's what you call the legend. That's why you have the legend. So the story of the tiger's nest has become a legend. But it's true. What happened is that the brethren's wife, she wasn't no tiger, she was a real woman. And like any real woman, she would have assisted him. Hear me good. She would have assisted him to create the monastery known as the Tiger's Nest that people visit up to this day. And the reality is that because of her fierceness, and of course, I guess she was a strategist too, she was given the spirit of the tiger. And then the fact that she was given wings and she carried him on her back, that is just symbolic of the strong support that you would realize she would have given to her kingman, to her husband. So that is why the story, when Anansi tell it, comes out like that. But it doesn't mean Jonah was swallowed by no fish. But that is symbolic of something. As the Christ even said, just as Jonah was in the belly of the fish for 3 days and 3 nights, so shall I. You see? So shall I be in the belly of the earth, the belly of the beast, the pit of hell, and all of that. But the fish was symbolic of that, plus other things. And I'm saying all of this, and I really said I wasn't going to go into this level here. But again, I know many listening still have not gravitated to understand the importance of being open-minded. So I know many ones are already stiff-necked. People don't really listen. Not everybody listens to learn, They listen to hear and to see what you're talking about today. But they already come even fixed that they ain't coming here to learn nothing. They just want to hear if you're talking about what they agree with. And that's it. Very good. So again, with understanding of where we are, royal family, with the subject area, and in deep contemplation, when we look into the whole aspect of the scripture again. So it's clear that the Most High shall rise up the Christ to sit upon the throne of David. Now I'm going to simplify this. This is going to be as easy as pie. You see, family, we have the great nerve to try to disrespect the Ethiopians, a people who have preserved their history. I mention this all the time. So you watch some documentaries, top documentaries, like the BBC Africa documentaries. I like to watch them from time to time. And some other documentaries where our brothers and our sisters are the host and the narrators. And we're very skeptical about the Ethiopian history. So this history that I read in the Kebra Nagast, you really believe this? And the Ethiopians have to tell, yes, of course. Why shouldn't I? That's our history. You believe your history, don't you? Well, this is our history. Yeah, well, okay. So you really think that the Ark of the Covenant is in there? Of course. I mean, come on. Do you really think your great-great-grandmother is buried where they say she's buried? You never saw her, but I'm sure you believe she's in there. Right. So we believe the Ark of the Covenant is in there. Why shouldn't we? You understand? Yeah. So you really believe that the Queen of Sheba existed? And she really met Solomon? And they go on and on and on. Now, what I'm saying, family, what history do you have? Most of us, we don't even know our great-grandfather's name. Some of us don't even know our grandfather's name. Oh my, I didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but some of us don't even know our father's name. And you're going to question people that have names going back centuries, maybe on a lamb skin that has been there for over 700 years in their family. Generations upon generations of names. This man and this man and this man and that man, as if you're reading the chronicles in the Bible. Up to today, you can go in the highlands of Ethiopia, in the rural area of Abyssinia, and find people with these sort of artifacts in their homes. And that's just regular people. That's not the royal family. That's not the nobility, you know. That's not the ancient churchical history and the ancient churchical records. That's not the oldest Bible and the oldest this. This is just people who just happen to have the names of their grandfathers, great-grandfathers, great and great and great and great on a lambskin canvas that has been in their family for some time. My point is that these people preserve their history, and we just get up and try to deny them and diss them. And are you sure? And who told you so? You know, and we want to tell you what is myth and what's not myth. Now let me tell you this. I will be the first to tell you that the Ethiopians, especially of today, have lost themselves in the mythology. And just like most of us, they would have considered that history too. I just did a program the other day about the dragon that ruled Ethiopia before the Queen of Sheba. I'm telling you, there are Ethiopians that believe that, literally. Because they themselves would have lost the whole aspect of symbolism. Family, we have a great work to do, eh? And before I even go into the depths of the biblical proof of Haile Selassie I, let me just highlight something for you there. And I think this is a good time for us to even highlight the fundraiser youth. Because a brother now, or I believe it's a brother, made a comment on a video I did. I did a video a few days ago. How many of you saw the video highlighting Thailand and them banning cannabis again? Was it that video? or was it the Queen of Sheba myth or reality video? One of these videos, someone commented and they said that I should know. They were not speaking of the subject. They were speaking of the fundraiser. They were speaking of the mission to Ethiopia. And for those of you who do not know about the mission to Ethiopia, I will tell you in a moment, because I'm sure many of you know that you can join us in Ethiopia. I'm talking about for the African Union CARICOM Summit in September. But anyway, let's get to the story first, and we'll come back to that. So the person in the comment said that we need to carry the mission to Sudan instead, for Sudan needs help more than Ethiopia. There's a lot of war in Sudan. In fact, I think I'm seriously paraphrasing. I don't think they said all of that, to be honest, but I know that's what they were saying. We should carry the mission to Sudan. Sudan needs the help. Too much fighting, something of the sort. Now, we understand that for sure. I'm sure you know in the previous ambassador's pen, we highlighted the war that is taking place in Sudan and South Sudan actually trying to lend a helping hand, although they need a helping hand themselves. But listen to what I'm saying. The fact that the person said we need to take the mission to Sudan. Now, I don't think they were being sarcastic. I don't think they were being cheeky or, facetious or anything. I think they were serious. But this is what I took. This was my takeaway from that person saying we need to go to Sudan. Listen to this. I want you to hear me. Eh? This was my takeaway. My takeaway was this person, whoever they are, understands what I am doing. Hear me out. Whether they agree or disagree, in fact, they actually disagreed. Well, maybe not disagreed, but they don't think that that would have been the wisest move. There are other places that need my attention or our attention or whatever attention I appear to want to give to Ethiopia. Sounds nice, but there's somewhere else that needs it. So what attention am I giving to Ethiopia? I'm just going to Ethiopia. No, you're not just going to Ethiopia. It doesn't sound so to me. Oh, you're on a mission. Oh, that's what you call it, a mission to Ethiopia, is it? Yeah, I read your proposal. Oh, you did? Yeah. You're talking about taking letters from your Congress and letters from elder councils and letters from parliamentarians and letters from even the government which you are a citizen of and rounding up business people to highlight them in a catalog and you are already conducting online meetings with business people in Ethiopia. You are already making connections with Ethiopian Airlines. You are already reaching out to the office of the Prime Minister and the Minister of Foreign Affairs. You're not playing around. You're not going on a trip, Priest Isaac. You're on a mission. You're carrying well wishes from your government, any which one you highlight. The government that represents the King of England and the government that I represent as ambassador and priest. I want you to follow this good. You're on a mission. So what am I going to do? Well, I don't know exactly what you're going to do, but you seem to can talk. You know what I mean? And maybe you can dance too. I don't know if you're going to entertain them or hypnotize them, but I know you have a plan. You seem to be like that. But you should go to Sudan. Sudan needs you there. So what about Rwanda? Rwanda is in some serious problem, and I don't care what they said Donald Trump did the other day, which is another subject by itself. But anyway, we talked about that previous night, so I don't need to speak about it now. Those of you who are not subscribers to the Tiger's Nest, you should become a subscriber. I will give you that program when you subscribe, although it was a previous program. Family, this is serious. So give thanks to that understanding that this is not dilly-dally and we're just going to play. And no, that is why the African Union CARICOM Summit is the central part of the mission. But we have also opened the doors for those of you who want to not only be with us, but to assist the mission, because when you sign up to be with us for the mission, you are adding to the mission. Admission, anything that has an admission means that you are adding to the mission. You are assisting the mission. When you come and you want a discount, you're dissing the count. So as I would have said a few days ago, now is the time to sign up, family. Don't wait until it's too late. You understand? I'm sure many of you would have already received the proposal. Some of you highlighted, reached out to us. You know, I already got the reports. A good amount of you reached out to us. Well, that's a relative term, a good amount. But give thanks for those who reached out and who have received their proposal. We already have individuals who have already booked their tour with us for September. So you still have the opportunity, family, to be with us. You know, as you can see, the prices are quite well, good prices, if you want to say, for the mission. And then at the same time, we're dealing with professional tours here. And of course, Ethiopian Airlines is the main transportation for the national tour. I'm talking about when we go to Lalibela, when we go to Aksum, when we go to the Simeon Mountains. These are professionally conducted tours that we ourselves, I want you to understand, will be a part of. But of course, we have a certain level of expertise that not even the Ethiopians have. No disrespect. Remember, we are Rastafari. We are the preservers of the ancient knowledge, not them, no offense. They've preserved something else of agency, and we appreciate that. That's why we are humbling ourselves to their mastery. But we have a mastery too, you understand? And it has to do with Kebra Nagast himself specifically. And of course, you know, his divinity, which we would have upheld from them times till now. So once you want to be with us for the AU CARICOM Summit, and of course the 3 days, 3 nights Addis Ababa tour, Priest Isaac Institute at gmail.com. Everyone knows it by now, eh? Priest Isaac Institute at gmail.com. If you have not seen the proposal, you can just contact me again, same way, Priest Isaac Institute at gmail.com. The proposal, for those who are watching, you see it on the screen. It is entitled Mission to Ethiopia, the AU/CARICOM Summit, and of course the official magazine launch. This is a business move, I tell you. So we will be on business, eh? And it had to begin like that, because at first no one would have sponsored it. In fact, up to this time, I would not say we have any official sponsors. A few of you, and I must be honest, very few, and that's not no relative number, that's few of you would have contributed towards the mission. And I'm very thankful, very, 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 very thankful for those who would have understood that. You understand, and you know that contributions and donations is not my main thing. What is my main thing? I have something to sell. That's my main thing. That's what I teach my students. not to go begging, to go selling, to prepare something. And I have many things that this audience should be delighted to partake in from our courses. How many of you that are listening to me are on the ancient astronomy course? Now I'm just asking, how many of you are a part of the ancient astronomy online course? I'm telling you, I'm not bragging and I'm not making up anything. You know I'm not going to do that. As a person that investigates courses, I do that. You know I love to be, you know I'm a course taker. The course that we would have created, the ancient astronomy course, is one of the better courses out there. And of course, the subject area is very graphic. The graphics are extremely great. And then at the same time, the information and of course, inspiration is on point. I'm talking about the ancient astronomy course. And of course, the cost for the course is only, actually, I'm not even sure. I think it's about $199, if I'm not mistaken, between $199 or $225, something of the sort. And the course is about a month and a half. The length of the course, if you do it, correctly. And again, although it was really originally designed for a mature audience, meaning adults, this can be given to teenagers, which are really a mature audience too. And although this is not a part of the bargain, I'm just showing you the standard or quality type of products that we have. I'm telling you, our course, the ancient astronomy course, I say that without any regret, is hands down the best astronomy course you can find anywhere, especially as it relates to, let me be clear, especially as it relates to its delivery. Now, it's the rudiments of ancient astronomy, so it's very rudimental. So let's be clear. And although it's the basics, it still goes into the very deep science. I would have already, those of you who are not on the course and you listen to us and watch us all the time, you would have seen samples of the course. And I've always encouraged you to at least get your young ones signed up on the course, at least begin to expand their minds. You would not regret it. I am telling you, as it relates to the ancient astronomy course. And then, of course, we have, that's a lot of course. Of course, we have the homeschool program. But outside of the homeschool program, we have the literal talking book, which is, I think that's just about $20. And I'm encouraging everyone, especially those who have little babies, to get the talking book, although it's digital. And I'm not going to encourage you to put a digital device in no baby's hand, but you're doing it anyway. Don't fool me. You're already giving them the tablet to watch Bugs Bunny. Can you imagine that? You're giving them your phone to listen to the big head person counting from 1 to 10. Singing the same nursery crimes that would have confused us. We still having children and we giving them back to the same killer stuff. And your brother, me, Priest Isaac, would have created digital products to entertain the same little baby for little or nothing. But no, we still enslaved. We just talk this talk. We're not really serious, we just talk it. So we're going to go around him, although we saw him express it and he did a whole webinar and showed us how it works and it looks good, but we're going around him. We want to be slaves just for a little more, a little longer. Mommy, leave me alone. I don't want to wake up yet. That's the mentality we have. So we prefer to entertain Bugs Bunny and go back to Sesame Street. Don't be playing with me, eh? I have it. I have the products and the services as it relates to higher education for you and your children. But we are not really as conscious as we pretend. There comes a time when you are in authority to say certain things, and I think I'm there by now. Yeah, man. I look in the mirror, I see some gray beard coming. I think I'm there by now. Maybe 10 years ago, I had to be humble and just watch the game. But right now, I can speak. And I'm not impressed. We ain't really serious as we say we are going forward when it comes to our liberation. And I'm not talking about the mission to Ethiopia. I'm just talking in general. I'm not talking about my good people that are listening to me here. I'm talking in general. I'm talking about the community who doesn't even listen to I. This ain't about listening to I. This is just me observing how we are moving as a people that are supposed to be seeking for liberation. And not just a family talk I'm giving you here, my loved ones. And this is just coming from the heart. But let's just get back to what we're talking about here. So anyway, I was really just showing you how you could add to the mission outside of what we are offering. But what we are offering, number one, let me start from here. What we are offering are the different packages. Remember, I want you to get this good. We have different packages. Now remember the full program itself. The what you may call it, the budget is $118. Let me show you something, family. I think this is very important. Now, you see this? This highlights the team. Now, we have here a team of 5. It should really be a team of 7 or a team of 9, a delegation of priests, a whole heap of things. But, you know, that's going to take a lot. And again, with very few hands on board and very few minds on board. You just got to do what you got to do, because you got to keep in mind, in the same way I'm bringing this to you, I've brought this to many. I don't want to bring no, as they say, not too clean laundry out in the public, but I've brought this to my own. You know, but because I mean that this must be done, here I am. So this is even a shorter version, a smaller version of the original plan. I wonder if you follow me. You don't just go to Ethiopia with 5 people. You go with a delegation of priests, of empresses. You plan this, you raise the finance, but you know, just in the same way you hear me come and speak here, you listen to me speak, and I express myself to you, and you know personally if you would have moved towards anything I would have said. I'm just saying, you know, if you would have contributed, you know, if you would have taken an ad, you know, if you are deciding to come on the mission with us, you know, if you would have, what's the other option? We have a next option. You know, but you know. You know, so it's in the same light, my family, I'm telling you, because this is a family talk here. I didn't come to entertain. This is not about who have the most views and the most likes. It's sad to hear people talking that way. No, man, this is about freedom, redemption, international repatriation. And by the way, since I mentioned that, please like the video. You know, it sums up the stuff and make sure that the information gets around. So there's a head of missions. There's an administrative director and events manager. There's a chief assistant to head of the missions. There's a second assistant. So the head of missions needs 2 assistants. And there is an assistant to the administrative director. And none of these people are security. You understand me? These are assistants to those who are basically doing the main work. And this mission is equal to any diplomatic mission that any country would send anywhere. That's what I'm trying to show. It's a diplomatic mission that I'm moving with. Even if I was to go by myself, it would still be a diplomatic mission, but that's not no diplomatic mission. That's an adventure. So this is why it was brought to governments. CARICOM government, the government of Antigua and Barbuda, and even the Rastafari government. And let me be clear here. Didn't want to go this far. But I got to say it because I know some in the Rastafari government will say, but I didn't hear about that. Well, let me be clear. I'm sorry you had to say that, you know. And I wouldn't feel bad by saying what I'm going to say because everybody seems to talk this stuff, which I don't think all of what we say should be out in the air. But let me say it here. We ain't got no structured, concretized, point your finger government, because I can tell you where this information went. And still, those who you thought should receive it don't even know what you're talking about. Because there's no structure. There's no specific, email number, website. Oh no, that's not the right website. We have the right website over here. You see, that's what's happening, you know. I'm just telling you. And I have to say it like that, and I'm not saying no more. I think I said enough, and that's good enough just to highlight to you, family, how important the mission is. That's my point. I'm speaking my heart here to you, you know. I'm not trying to sell nobody anything. I'm not trying to sell a product. I'm not trying to sell a service. I'm trying to do the work that I know I am responsible for. Oh, you're just trying to sell a spot in the magazine, but selling the spot in the magazine is going towards the same budget for the mission. I mean, if we wanted to go to Ethiopia just to see Ethiopia, we wouldn't come on the internet and tell anybody anything. In fact, you want me to tell you a secret? That's the mission. We are going to Ethiopia. We're not trying to go, you know. That's the mission. It done set long time that we're going to Ethiopia, but we decided that this needs to be bigger than just a trip. You get the point, family? Good. Now, this is why you can be there with us. This is not a donation thing. The donation is the last option. You can come with us and be there. That will add to the mission. You could advertise in the ambassador's pen or the magazine Kidemi. I would encourage you to advertise in the upcoming edition of Kidemi, 50% off until the 13th of July. Very important. Or you can take one of the options as it relates to the sponsorship, whether it's the full, the platinum, the diamond, the gold, the silver, from $10,000 to $118,000. And if none of that rattles you, well, yes, you can make a contribution. It could be $1 million. It could be $50. Now, you see, what I would have done is that I left no stone unturned. I am positive, for sure, 60% of my listeners can do one of these things. In fact, more than 60, you know, but I'm just making it look right. And again, that is why I highlighted the brother that commented, or brother or sister, when he or she said, you should not be going to Ethiopia, you should be going to Sudan. Sudan needs you more. You understand? Now think about that. If I was just going on vacation, nobody will tell me to go to Sudan. They will say, what, you crazy? Yeah. You need to go to Haiti. Haiti needs you more. You understand? So he sees me as a peacemaker. Wow. He sees that whatever it is that I'm going to do in Ethiopia, whether it's education, which it is, whether it's diplomatic work, which it is, whether it's business, which it is, an exchange of business from the diaspora and those in the continent, which it is, he or she sees that this could be a solution to a lot of the problems in Sudan. So family, this is just the beginning. And again, we are moving with the spirit of the King of Kings. There's a lot to be done. So again, you may not understand the full details. I'm just honored that you were even patient to just listen to me. And again, we have already highlighted, if you plan to be with us, you need to contact us now. priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com. You plan to be on the mission to Ethiopia, you need to contact us now. priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com. And again, you want to be a part of even the magazines. Now is the time to get to us, because the magazine is going to soon be completed. I'm talking about Kidemi. We have a brand new ambassador's pen that will be out in a few hours, actually. So look forward to that one. Yes, in a few hours, a brand new ambassador's pen will be coming out. So whatever action you're going to take, even to donate, now is the time. As you can see, the time is getting close. Now is the time. priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com. Looking forward. And again, family, so you see, what I was saying earlier is that we have this tendency to disagree with the Ethiopians, the people who would have secured their history. So the Kebra Nagast, which to me made this thing so clear in the early days, something that you just can't deny. Again, many of you are followers of the scripture. Many of you understand the story of Moses. Many of you believe that God's presence was in the Ark of the Covenant. The ancient Ethiopians tell you what happened to the Ark of the Covenant. People still guessing, wondering what happened in 70 AD and a heap of lies. The Ethiopians clearly explained that when the Queen Makeda, visited Solomon, and they had the child Menelik I. Menelik I, when he grew big, he left Solomon with the ark and with the nobles and returned to Ethiopia. He's the first king of the Solomonic dynasty in Ethiopia. That's Menelik I. The Ark of the Covenant was once at Lake Tana, an island on Lake Tana. I think the island's name is, I can't remember. I think it's something Terracos. And at the same time, it was at Lalibela. And then it went to Aksum, where it is right now, the Ark of the Covenant. But what is telling here, family, please listen to this. Remember, the Ark is symbolic of the presence of God. And the scripture already show you that the Ark of the Covenant, and when I say the scripture, I'm talking of the Kebra Nagast, the Ethiopian book, the Kebra Nagast. It's called The Glory of the Kings. It's the Ethiopian book. It speaks of the Ark of the Covenant putting on flesh. Now this is deep, because the Ark is the presence of God. The Ark, outside of you arguing over Haile Selassie and all of that, the Ark is symbolic of the presence of God. That's without a doubt. So this is why Christ is seen as the Ark in flesh. That's why the Ark is seen to become a human being. So this is why the Kebra Nagast speaks clearly about the Ark of the Covenant. And when it returns to Ethiopia, and it shall put on flesh and bear 3 seals, which is all symbolic of even the coronation of Haile Selassie. Remember how we began this program, the book of Acts, telling us that Christ shall rise up to sit upon the throne of David in flesh. So we need to look at the throne of David to see where Christ shall rise up in flesh. The history and the prophecy, the Kebra Nagast speaks about this Christ that shall rise up in flesh, being the last king of Ethiopia. Now this is as clear can get. The last king of Ethiopia is supposed to be the Christ. And all of these prophecies were well known before the King of Kings, Haile Selassie I, was even born. It's the living ark manifested in human form. And that's why it says that he shall bear 3 seals, and Enoch and Elijah shall rise with the Lord. And this is why the whole science of Elijah being Marcus Messiah Garvey is obvious. For Elijah rules with the Lord, as the Kebra Nagast would have said. So you have the Solomonic dynasty in Ethiopia. Just think about that. The ancient Solomonic dynasty. Solomon is the son of David, by the way. And it was already written that through the lineage of David, Christ shall return to sit upon the throne. The book of Acts, eh? All right, Acts chapter 2, eh? Very good. That's interesting. Because again, in the book of Kings, the Queen of Sheba visited King Solomon, and they had a child, and this child went back to Ethiopia as the son of Solomon with the Solomonic dynasty. And then the Ark of the Covenant with him as well. And then listen, just the agency of Ethiopia stands out, because we're dealing with the first country mentioned in the Bible that is an accepted and recognized country today. I'm talking about Ethiopia. And when we speak of in the same book of Acts, when the Ethiopian official was baptized, you see how mystic it is? It's all in the book of Acts, where the Ethiopian official was baptized. And that shows the agency of Ethiopia as a country that followed Christ. Not just as a Christian country, but as a country and a people that followed the Messiah. You know, because we ain't Christians, but we follow Christ. And Christian and Christianity stuff might confuse you. So they are the ancient followers of Christ, the Ethiopians. That is why the cross of Christ is in Ethiopia, astronomically and literally as well. So the stuff is very deep. So the Ark of the Covenant is in Ethiopia, Rastafari. The Solomonic dynasty is in Ethiopia. Again, Solomon is the son of great King David, of which the book of Acts already highlighted that David, his son, descendant, shall sit upon his throne. And then the Kebra Nagast is already telling you that the Ark of the Covenant shall put on flesh, which is the presence of God. And that the Ark of the Covenant shall bear 3 seals, King of Kings, Lord of Lords, Lion of Judah, and shall be the last emperor of Ethiopia. I mean, you can finish the conversation right there. But let's continue still, you know. So this is why it's obvious. And this is literally scripture. The Bible, ancient Ethiopian books. Well, the Kebra Nagast, I don't believe it. So you don't what? You don't what? Listen, family, this is my point. Where is your history? You know, well, you know, ancient Kemet, it was older than this. No. You're mixing this up. This has nothing to do with what's older than what, eh? When you look at the walls of Kemet, they don't do that in Kemet anymore. In fact, a lot of what you see on the walls of Kemet is being done in Ethiopia. I'm talking about even the reed boats and so that they make. A lot of what you see hieroglyphically in Kemet is still being done in Ethiopia. The point is Ethiopia is still living their agency. So we don't have too many things to say when it comes to questioning the Ethiopians. We need to stop that. Don't be telling me what this Jewish archaeologist said. You see how they're dealing with the Palestinians? We need to stop that. So again, the scripture highlights this very, very clearly. And again, the presence of Haile Selassie I, this is another thing. Just the way the king came into the picture. Imagine you had 9 brothers and sisters that died before you were born. What on earth can go like that? Your mother gave up 9 ghosts, and then you were born. And then when she tried to have a 10th one, she and the 10th one died. That's the story of Emperor Haile Selassie the first beginning. That's how he started. The same man that stood before the League of Nations in 1936 on the 30th of June as we celebrate that anniversary at the same time. That's how he was born. His 9 siblings died, and the 10th one died. The 8 siblings, pardon me, before him died. He's number 9, and the 10th one died. Because when he was born, the 9th planet was discovered. 1930, when he was coronated, pardon me, they discovered Pluto. 9. Pluto, 9, the smallest planet. That's why Pluto was disqualified as a planet. The stuff is deep. You see, the thing is with Haile Selassie, this is undeniable. That's why we show you from history that without the King of Kings, I mean, this planet may not have even been here. No, I'm very serious, And you know that too. You understood how he stood in the breach during World War II. We understood how it came down upon the planet. I'm talking about World War II. Didn't have to happen like that. And it could have been worse. That's the point. And then again, at the same time, we know how the King of Kings fits into the unity of Africa that people try to talk about today. But there's a reason why I just went back to the scripture. Because many people, they're not interested in no history. They're not interested in logics. They're not interested in astronomy, although the heavens declare the glory. The Bible says. All right, yeah, the Bible says. Well, they asked Christ for a sign. Give us a sign of your return. And he said, well, listen, only a corrupt and greedy generation, be begging for a sign. But let me give you a sign. Jonah going into the fish, which we know that one, and the Queen of the South. It's in the book of Luke. The book of Luke. Christ was giving them a sign as it relates to his return. He highlighted Jonah going into the fish, and he highlighted the Queen of the South standing in the judgment. Who is the Queen of the South? That's Makeda, the Queen of Sheba. What does she have to do with the return of Christ? A lot. She's Christ's grandmother. She is the mother of Menelik I. She's the wife of Solomon. She bore fruit to fulfill the prophecy of the book of Acts, that through the lineage and the flesh of King David, Christ shall return in flesh and bones to sit upon the throne of his grandpappy, David and Solomon. Ark of the Covenant in Ethiopia, quite telling. The Kebra Nagast said that it shall put on flesh, shall be the last emperor. You can stop it right there, I'm telling you. The only head of state to speak to the League and the United Nations, we're talking about Earth's rightful ruler. And this is another thing, by the way. The full fulfillment of all these prophecies. Even in 1966, when he came to the Western world and landed in Jamaica, the full works. The first African head of states to visit the United States of America, Haile Selassie the first, when you understand him, many firsts attributed to the King of Kings and the fulfillment of the prophecies. And then at the same time now, if we go deeper, we're talking about the mythos of Osiris. Remember Osiris, it was 72 that came to his banquet, just as the 72 had to come to the coronation of Haile Selassie to fulfill this. And the heavens, of course, even aligned, and stars and planets and meteor showers all align even with the birth of the King of Kings. So this is something that is just undeniable, royal family. And today, again, as I'm speaking to you, I'm sure a next AI video is being uploaded somewhere with some screwy looking picture that is supposed to be Haile Selassie. And a heap of lies, like maple syrup being poured on the minds of the young people that Don't read anything. Go and read the autobiography of Haile Selassie I, part 1 and part 2. That is what we're supposed to read. Then you'll understand the genuine nature of the King of Kings that we are dealing with. And then now you wouldn't be so, vulnerable and open to all these lies and corruption that they want to feed you with, especially in this modern day time. Go and read the scriptures, royal family. It's undeniable. But of course, you can't be reading no scripture as if it's a history book flat and nothing else, nothing more. No, it's impossible. You got to understand the depths, the realms, the different levels of the esoteric science and symbolism and all things of that nature. Family, I'm encouraging you to contact us, to make sure you are part of the mission to Ethiopia. And if not, any which way, even if you advertise in the magazine, you will be a part of the mission to Ethiopia. Even if you take one of the sponsorships, you will be a part of the mission to Ethiopia. And even if you contribute, you will be a part of the mission to Ethiopia. I give thanks. Priest Isaac Institute at gmail.com. Remember, the links are in the description below. The magazine links all in the description below. Look forward to the next ambassador's pen. Hey, if you know your Bible and you do not know your history, you understand? These fellas will make all these AI videos and turn the king's story into a mystery. You better believe it. Yeah. And of course, you need to know that, because it needs some real eyes to realize the real lies that the AI is trying to put out, in this day and time. Imagine that, eh? Nobody was talking about the King of Kings. They thought they had it. Yeah, they thought they had it in the Bible. Yeah, all the Negroes are dead. Nobody know nothing about Selassie. We can get on to some other business. Yeah, but they didn't know Priest Isaac was coming up. They didn't expect the rabbi to step into the fold, yeah, and come out strong. Not we know dancing and singing, but come out strong. And they decided, no, we got to do something about this. Let's get some AI Mickey Mouse rats to muddy up the water. But don't worry, man. We're here. We pulling the cipher out, the sword. Happy earth strong, and we slewing the wicked. Praise Fari, let the earth hear his voice. King Emmanuel VII. Adonai God. Jah Rastafari. Blessed love. Blessed love, royal family, let me ask you a question. Can anyone tell me the name of the university that Haile Selassie I attended in France? What about the college that the King of Kings went to in London? You don't know? What about his high school in Naples? No one can tell me. What about prep school? No school in Europe? Come on, you don't know? Well, if you're telling me that there is no evidence of Haile Selassie attending any institution in Europe, you are totally correct. But why would I bring that up, even as a discussion? This is because I'm going to highlight for you today the propaganda of yesteryear that would have led many of our parents and grandparents astray as it relates to Haile Selassie I. And obviously, that would have trickled down to us today. And this is why many of us have this misunderstanding of not just Haile Selassie I, but Ethiopia and Ethiopians in general. Now listen to this. I'm going to show you how heavy propaganda is. I'm not just speaking about some sort of gossip on the wayside. We're going to highlight what you refer to as reputable news organizations and companies within our sphere. For example, I'm going to highlight to you right now a documentary done by the Prudential Insurance Company. Many of you know of the Prudential Insurance Company. In fact, those of you who are old enough, you know of the journalist, Mr. Walter Cronkite. Well, listen to this. This is taken from The Lion and the Cross, 1963. Listen.
I'm Walter Cronkite. Last week, the 20th Century presented the first of 2 episodes on Ethiopia and its ruler, Emperor Haile Selassie, who is the sacred king of kings of an African empire 3,000 years old, whose upper classes consider themselves a race apart, with the features and heritage of a chosen band of biblical white men burned black by the African sun and time. They are the
Now, according to him, the Ethiopians themselves consider that they are a band of biblical white men who have been turned black by the African sun and time. What do you mean what I'm talking about? I think you missed it a while ago. Listen good.
Of an African empire 3,000 years old.
Listen.
Whose upper classes consider themselves a race apart, with the features and heritage of a chosen band of biblical white men burned black by the African sun and time.
With features and heritage that of a band of biblical white men turned black by the African sun and time. You get it now? You looking at a picture of Ras Mokennen. He ain't look no biblical white man to me. In fact, he looked just as black as me, and I'm surely no biblical white man turned black by no sun nor time. You understand? But keep in mind, this is not pick up Jimmy on the sidewalk saying this. This is the esteemed Walter Cronkite. This is the Prudential Insurance Company. Many of you and your parents and grandparents would have invested their hard-earned pennies, buying life insurance and house insurance and all sort of insurance from this insurance company. In fact, this insurance company is well known for sponsoring the halftime show for decades as it relates to the National Basketball Association in the United States of America. I'm talking about the Prudential Insurance Company. And according to the wise, intelligent people that operate this organization and who would have created that documentary, they are saying that these black, beautiful brothers that you are gazing on are white people that have been turned black by the African sun and time. We're not done, I want you to hear this now. Before we get to Haile Selassie being educated in Europe, let's get to this one. And you see, family, let me remind you that this is one of our programs within the series of programs that we are doing as it relates to the fundraiser campaign for our mission in Ethiopia. And I'm sure many of you would understand that even what we are doing now speaking to you and sharing this knowledge is what we have been doing for decades. And we would have taken this skill and the knowledge and all that we would have acquired and literally created products and services. And this is why we are now international, not just in Ethiopia, Ghana, but all over Africa. And of course, anywhere on the planet where our people are, you understand. So let me just remind you before we continue, those of you who have not contacted us, to receive your copy of the proposal, which is very important. For those who may not know what I'm speaking of, just tiger with me for a second. Our mission to Ethiopia literally has a proposal. And of course, this is really surrounding the African Union CARICOM Summit and of course the official magazine launch for the upcoming edition of the magazine Kidemi. So I'm inviting everyone to email me, of course, Priest Isaac Institute at gmail.com. That's Priest Isaac Institute. Attention, everyone. The Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge is inviting you to join us in September for the African Union CARICOM Summit in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Sign up for the 3-day package and be a part of the AU CARICOM Summit, plus take in all of the sights of Addis Ababa, the new flower. Or you can opt for our 9-day cultural national tour, and that will engulf sites like Lalibela, Aksum, the Simeon Mountains, and much more. Transportation, accommodation, and your meal all included. So contact us now and reserve your spot. Email us priestisaacInstitute@gmail.com or visit our website priestisaacInstitute.com. Ethiopia. See you there. Definitely say blessed love to each and every one as we give thanks to the life giver and the keeper of life. Emperor Haile Selassie I is exalted. We welcome you to the Tiger's Nest. Honorable Priest Isaac here with you. Summit, and of course the attention, everyone.